Is this thing live? I think I think we're live. It's working. Yay. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. If you are new to the live shows, um, this is my little slice of YouTube. Allows me to interact directly with you guys in real time and also lets me elaborate a little bit more on videos that I've made, projects that I'm working on, give you guys some behind the scenes stuff, as well as it lets me, how do I put it? It lets me work through some topics that maybe just didn't quite make it to prime time, if you will. So that'll happen every once in a while. So every once in a while, live shows will kind of meander into that territory as well. Matt is in. I finally got here on time. I like it. So, yeah, I am, as the thumbnail may have given away, um, I have an exhaust and a tune coming for the GSXR 600. So we are going to be talking about that, which exhaust I went with, which tuner, and why I went with that. Bruce says, looks like that bicycle is a Gixxer 12. I guess it would technically be a Gixxer 10. That is well, it would actually have to be either a Aprilia or a Ducati, because that is an Italian bicycle called an Olmo. It's a vintage 1980s bicycle. Um, so getting into the what behind what's going on with that 600. So, you know, I had that bike out the other day and I had ridden the GSXR 600 and then immediately rode the GSXR 750, literally within, I don't know, 10 minutes of each other at the most. And when I got back with the 750, I thought, it's kind of hard to compare a bone stock GSXR 600 to a very well sorted out GSXR 750. But you can, though. And that's the funny thing. I got back with the 600 and I didn't really feel like it was lacking anything. Matter of fact, the funny thing about the 600 is that there are instances where the 600, I mean, it drives really hard out of corners. It does a lot of really fun, cool things. But I got to thinking about it. I was like, that thing just it doesn't really feel like it's a finished bike. You know what I mean? Like, I liked it stock with the slip on, and I kept saying how great it is, and I still believe that. But, you know, it would be even better if it was just optimized. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Now, I am not going to say that this is the end of the line type of a recommendation for that bike. And I mean that in two different ways. The first way that I mean that is this isn't the end of what I'm going to be doing to that bike. It is going to end up getting a 520 conversion at some point, I'm sure. But I am going to be putting it up against the GSXR 750 to find out just how long a GSXR 600 can hold off a 750, if at all, from a little bit of a roll. And I think it only fair to, it's going to have a rider that's roughly the same weight, roughly the same height. I mean, it's going to be a very fair comparison on the 750 versus the 600. But I'm thinking that 600 might do a little bit better than you might think. But we all know how that's going to end up, I think, at the end of that run. George is in saying, hey, been watching you for a while and finally got my first bike, 2018 GSX S750. That is an awesome bike, man. Congratulations. And that's a bike that, man, I do not understand why that bike didn't do better than it did. I guess it might have been, comparatively speaking, it's heavy, although I never felt the weight when I rode it. It is a badass bike, and I would have loved to see more of them leaving the dealership. Here's the funny thing. That bike has got a pretty unique power plant in it, and it's one that you can kind of brag about. So just like the GSX S1000 has an engine that is basically the K5 GSXR 1000 engine with revised camshafts. Although they still make a lot of power, so does the GSXS 750. The S750 has the older generation GSX R6 or 750 engine in it, which is the 05046 750. I've got 600 on my brain here, which is the big bore 750. And that's kind of an interesting engine because the GSXR 1000 prior to that got all of its guts basically from a GSXR 750. It's that engine. So the only real difference between that engine and the GSX R1000 variant of that engine is a couple of millimeters on the bore and a couple of millimeters on the stroke. And what happened later on is that the 1000 got a bigger bore. It went from 72, I think, to 76. I mean, it got a much, or 75. It got a much bigger bore. And the 750 got a smaller bore, and it went really more towards a 600 platform style engine. So, yeah, there's definitely some cool things to brag about with that bike and with that engine. It's actually a pretty interesting, pretty neat engine. So, congratulations again on that. But yeah, no, getting back to the 600 though. Okay, so the other thing that I was going to say is, okay, so it's not the end of the line for the 600 in terms of modifications, but it is going to get a tune. It is going to get exhaust, as the thumbnail would indicate. And it is going to, at some point, get a 520 conversion. The 750 may also get a 520 conversion, although that is significantly further over the horizon for that bike. Really doesn't need it. But I think the 600 would benefit from it. Oh no, hold on, wait. Jeff said you're right about that anniversary red R9. I bought it tonight. My man. All right, good deal. So yeah, is that a good looking bike or what? See, that's the one that I was kind of holding out for or holding out on. I really wanted to see that bike in person. So dude, congratulations on that. So very cool. Keep us posted on how you like it, man. That is badass. That is awesome. Matt saying, yes, join me in R9 land, brother. I love it. All are welcome here. But the other, what I was also going to say is I'm going to, so the other side to that comment that I made is, I know what I've said about the 600 about putting money into a 600, and I still kind of stand by that, but it's me we're talking about. Are you kidding me? You think I'm going to leave well enough alone and not put a full exhaust on Little Sister? Are you kidding me? So what I'm going to do is it's going to be a full M4 Tech 1 carbon stainless steel setup. There's no real reason to try to penny pinch on weight in this case. I'm not trying to get down to like the nth degree when it comes to weight on that bike. The M4 is going to be the lightest of the exhausts that are available for that bike. And I like the way that they sound, and they're not too loud. That's the one thing I like about the M4 Tech 1 carbon is that although it's kind of loud-ish, it's not quiet by comparison the way that the Yoshimura R77 is. And I'll take that a step further. I feel like, and this is personal opinion here, but I feel like the R77 suits a 750 better, and the M4 suits the 600 better. And I don't know why that is. It's just for whatever reason, it's like round peg, round hole, square peg, square hole for me. But here's the thing. This has nothing to do with, I'm not trying to eke every last horsepower out of either one of these bikes, and they both work exceptionally well. But in saying all that, huge shout out to Kyle over at M4. Not getting it for free, but dude's taking care of me on this. So again, big thank you to Kyle for, looking out for me on this exhaust. So that's another really good reason to go with M4. Besides, Kyle's, this will be the 5th M4 exhaust that I've bought in a full like calendar year. And so I guess I had bought myself into a discount. But I tell you what, I'm looking forward to it. And hey, listen, since we're talking about exhausts, the factory exhaust came out of the 600 extremely easily. And I don't want you to think that, oh, well, it's a 600, it's a smaller engine. Of course it came out easier. No, everything about the dimensions of the engine and all that are identical. It's just after you've done it a couple of times, you kind of learn how to maneuver stuff and get stuff around. So no incidents whatsoever getting that thing out of the bike. It just basically, I'm kind of getting good at doing these bolt-on modifications to middleweight jigsaws. So let me check back in with you guys. Mickey, yeah, I went with the M4. Deedle's asking, do you think the 600 will be too loud for daily if you decat an M4 slip-on? Yeah, I do. I don't like the GP pipes with cat delete pipes. They're exceptionally loud. And the problem is, it's not that they're loud. It's where the pipe is. So if you can imagine sitting on the bike and the pipe is way behind you, well, the noise is way behind you. But when you've got that little can sitting right underneath your right ear, it can get a little bit old. Now, that being said, you've heard me sit here and just love all over how an M4 GP slip-on sounds amazing on a stock exhaust. And that's true, but you've also got, you've got your baffles, or not the baffles, the butterflies that are there. But more importantly, you've got a catalytic converter and the bread box that's there. It is knocking out a lot of the noise before it even comes out of the exhaust itself. So it just gives it some extra volume. But yeah, I am not a huge fan of cat delete pipes with GP stuff. But if you had a cat delete pipe with any other slip on, it would sound probably very good, and it'll fit well too. It actually, some of those slip-ons fit really well. George saying, "Oh, thanks, I'm proud of it, and it's so sick knowing." Oh, the 4-cylinder, yeah. It's a really cool engine that you've got. I mean, I'm a big fan of it. Bomb proof too, just like any other Suzuki. Jeff's saying, "Thanks, of course." Blue's asking a question. Can I use the screw type for fairings on mine? There's different types, but I'm not sure if it's all that important. The screw type for fairings. I don't know. The fairings have got, they're just the back side of them. Some of them have the metal clips, and some of them, they just terminate into plastic. I mean, technically speaking, if it holds it together, it'll probably be okay. But the idea is that if it's a screw type, it may be too coarse for the plastic, could end up hurting the plastic. So it just kind of depends on the screw itself. Getting back to the bike. So the 600, yeah, it's going to get M4, and I like the idea of going with the M4 on that bike. Again, it's lightweight. It's going to look great. And I don't know, it kind of goes with the bike for whatever reason. Like I say, it just kind of checks a box. Now, as far as for tuning, and I'm not getting paid for this, unfortunately, sadly. But anyway, it's going to be more Mafia. And I'm going to tell you why more Mafia. And it's going to be for one of the most nitpicking things that was driving me nuts with the Blue 750. And this is something that I guess for whatever reason, I just seem to be real sensitive to, and that's the throttle smoothness. It has nothing to do with the amount of power either one of those bikes make, because I got a little secret for you guys. There ain't no secrets when it comes to most motorcycles and making power with them. If you have any amount of dyno time with any motorcycle, if you're doing timing sweeps, you're doing fueling sweeps, all of that, you're going to get to a place where you're making MBT, which is a maximum brake torque. That is to say that you're going to get to a place where with whatever fuel quality you're working with, you're going to maximize it on a dyno at some point. We're not worried about power here. It's really more about the little details. And what I like the most about the gray bike is that when I've got that bike on the side of the tire, I'm looking through a corner, and carousel is a really good turn. It's kind of like my throttle dyno, if you will, because you're not really. I mean, I'm coming in hot into carousel, right? So I'm coming in really hot into carousel, and then I'm on the brakes, rolling off of the brakes before I drop that bike in, because it's got that bump. Then you don't want to be on the brakes when you hit that bump. So I come in really hot, anticipating the bump, rolling onto the brakes, roll off of the brakes as I'm dropping into the corner, hit the bump. When I hit the bump, within a second, I'm rolling the throttle into maintenance throttle. This is where things really started to show themselves. When I say things, the differences between the two tunes. Because with the gray bike, Smokey, aka Shadow, on the side of the tire, when I'm rolling into the throttle with that tune, it's very smooth. I mean, it is like whisper smooth as I'm coming in from hard decel, rolling into the throttle, looking through my corner. I'm driving that bike into the corner a little bit harder. Just as I'm exiting, you hear as the bike's coming up, I'm just going to full throttle, right? And that's the fun part with both bikes, because they both will kind of carry the back end out a little bit. It doesn't really come up on camera, but when I drop in, coming hot into carousel, drop it in, and it'll where's our bump, boop, and then you'll see the Easter basket on the wall. I still don't know what the hell that's all about. And as you got to remember, it's blocked off on both sides. And I'm looking, I've already seen where I'm going. I know it's clear. And I'm trying to make sure there's not a car coming over the wall. There's a lot going on in carousel. And that's the thing. I can't really, I can't like walk you through what I'm doing, because it's all happening simultaneously the way that I can when we go visit our favorite stop signs. But right as I'm rolling into the throttle, right at that point, when I'm already holding maintenance, both bikes, the 600, or all three of them, 600, the blue 750, and the gray 750, will start really laying power down well. And the gray bike on the Power 6s will start to, it'll carry the back just a little bit as I'm rolling on the throttle. You'll sometimes see me do a slight correction, and then I bust up to the Missouri turnaround and kick over. Little sister, on the other hand, because she's tacking higher, she's in a higher horsepower area. And so I whack the throttle in that thing, and it's a fun little, the way it'll kind of step out. I don't know. I love that bike. It's so much fun. But anyway, it deserves a full exhaust, and so a full exhaust is what she's going to get. John is in. DM is in. Got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. God, speaking of flex, I am going to be back in the gym tonight. My knee is finally healed up. The other knee is finally starting to heal up, and I think my shoulder is starting to work again. So, yay. Hopefully get my fat ass back into shape. Smoking Odd's been cooking some really good food lately, so I've put on some pounds. But anyway, but that's where the difference lies between the tunes. And with the two-wheel Dynoworks tune, and I noticed this on my on the 1000, and it was like this on the 750 as well. There's the throttle was smoother on transition when the bike was stock versus when I got it back from Two Wheel Dynoworks. And whether it's because of the I don't know. Obviously, it's something in throttle tuning, where the more Mafia tune was just buttery smooth, and remains to be buttery smooth on the gray bike. And so that's why they're getting the nod for the 600. The 600, by the way, that throttle tuning is really, really good too. So I can't really complain, even with the way that it is now in the 600, although you could argue because it's a smaller displacement bike, of course it's going to be less, I don't know, twitchy or however you want to describe it. Well, you got to remember, I'm running a lot higher RPM when I'm entering the carousel or any of the other turns that we're playing around in. And so it's going to be even more pronounced because I'm in a much more efficient range in that engine in those cases. Speaking of which, that bike can chew up some tires. I was over here bitching and crying about, 1,000 cc liter bike, type thing where I was going, they go through tires. That little 600, again, because it's higher up in the RPM range, I'm using all the throttle coming out of corners, and it's just, she'll feather a tire pretty quickly. As those R22s have got their work cut out for them. So, but yeah, no, that thing has been a ride, and so I wanted to bring you guys along for the ride with this. It's the exhaust is still a little ways out. I will be doing really good to get one. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. I'm looking at the calendar now. Probably the middle of next month is when that one will probably make its arrival. But the computer has already been sent out, so the computer will come back. The bike is ready to go. I mean, I've already got the servo is already out of it. Obviously the O2 is out with the exhaust. The marble mod has been completed. I'm trying to think, what am I forgetting? Is there anything else? That's pretty much it. Just going through the bike, basically, I'm cleaning stuff. That bike had to have sat outside for a very long time. I mean, there was dust, excuse me, on top of dust, on top of dust. So I was cleaning all that up. I'm soon to be blowing it out with the, with the air nozzle and trying to get that thing a little bit cleaner than where it is now. But I got to say, I'm looking forward to it. So either way, she's going to be put together, I would say, I mean, barring any issues, by the day I get the exhaust going on that thing. So whenever it comes in, that's when it'll go in. And definitely going to be looking forward to that. John saying, I might be nuts, but I always buy a Akrapovic. Hey, listen, Acro's good stuff. It's real good stuff. But I am supporting a Texas company. So, and that's important to me too. Plus their pipes just really do seem to work very well. Now, as far as power goes, again, this really isn't a power thing. It's really more about dropping weight, optimizing the bike, and getting the thing really where it needs to be. But as far as what will it make, I don't really know, because I don't have a dyno locally, but the walking around number is anywhere between 112.5 and 114 to the rear tire, which for a little bike like that, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, especially when you put that bike in a position where you're able to use all of that power. It's pretty fun. And yeah, you might say it's low on torque. Yeah, it's low on torque, but again, it's got a lot of RPM and it's got gearing in its favor. So the bike is actually not, it's oddly good going down the highway too. That's another thing about the GSX-R 600 is that GSX-R 600, it feels like it's a bigger bike than what it is displacement wise. At least if you compare it to the CBR 600, right? So it's a little bit gruntier of an engine. It feels like it just has a wider spread of power. Suzuki's doing Suzuki things. It's kind of weird. And I know I'm wearing the shirt and I'm always, yeah, Suzuki. I know I'm that guy, right? I get it, but it's a great bike, and it's going to be even greater when it gets everything done to it. DM's liking the Acro, man. I love Acro stuff. Dilly's asking, what exhaust am I putting on? M4 Tech 1 Carbon is going on. Mike saying, I just put a shorty slip on. It's loud enough without being too loud. I got a full system with the GP Acra. It would be too loud. It would be way too loud. Again, it's one of those things where, and again, it's not how loud it is. Look, if you want a loud bike, check out my dad's Daytona. I mean, that thing, I don't even know if there's any packing left in that can. It is loud. I mean, properly loud, but the can is so far back that you don't really notice it. It just sounds good, honestly. And so I don't really have a problem with loud. I just have a problem with the proximity to my dome, right? And again, with that GP style thing sitting like right here, it's just it's like it's like right in your head. Um, so that's why I'm not going that route. And again, the main reason why it's going M4 is because I've just had really good luck with M4 in terms of power and how the bikes feel with that exhaust. I'm a big fan of the M4s just in general. Felipe is checking in saying hello. Dilly saying my dad's GSX-R 750 has no cat and a slip-on M4 with no baffle, way too loud. Is it the GP style that he's got put on that thing as a slip-on, or is it like a Street Slayer or something like that? Because I can tell you this, I mean, a lot of it, yeah, the GP style, man, that is loud, dude. I mean, that is a straight pipe bike. I'm just not a big fan of it. Again, it's just because of where it is. It's right there and it's omnipresent. You can't shut it up. Like you can't just go, okay, that's enough of that. Can't do that. The other thing, and I will say this, there's another reason why I went with M4. I mean, Kyle, big shout out, bro. And then, the performance, the look, I love the look of the M4. And I think the look of it fits the 600 a little bit better. Again, a little bit lighter by a pound or two. So, I mean, nitpicking here, but here's the thing. The one thing that the 600 does not have that the 750 does is a very pronounced intake snarl. I mean, it's there, but it's not like the 750. The 750, it is there. Like it's part of that bike. And although it can be very annoying with the stock gearing, with the stock exhaust, if you put pipes on it and re-gear it, there's a drone that you want to move away from. And that's why I've said for a long time, the GSX-R 750, it runs great with stock gearing, but you want to go one down with the front sprocket just to eliminate that resonance that you get. And then throw a slip on top of that, and it is really good. Like stock tune, stock exhaust with a GP slip on and a re-gear on a 750 is really, really good to ride. It's not optimized, but if you're on a budget and you're still like, okay, I need to save up maybe a year. I'm like, look, I'm just going to keep putting money aside. I'm going to put a full exhaust on it in a tune one day, maybe not. But if that is in the cards and you just want something that's going to wake the bike up and get it almost there anyway, go with the re-gear, go with the slip-on. I don't care what slip-on it is, whichever one you think looks best. Because it literally does not matter on the slip-ons because of the design of the stock box. Put that on the bike, get out there, have fun with it. And that is, for me, that would almost be the perfect setup for a 750. Felipe's got a great question. How does the front suspension compare between the Gixxer 6 and the Gixxer 7.5? They are practically identical. Matter of fact, the sag settings were all but identical between the 600 and the 750. Now, on my understanding is that on paper, so the front spring pack is different for the 600 versus the 750. So it's a little bit softer of a spring, but the way that it comes set up from the factory, they have identical sag front and rear, which was 35 or 36 front and 28-ish in the rear, which weirdly enough was, in fact, I still have the suspension settings for an A model Suzuki on the whiteboard right behind me. The way I had it set up was 35-28. So, I mean, it is a really good setup, but as far as how they feel, bro, I got to tell you, they're practically identical. I mean, when I ride the 600, it doesn't feel any different than the 600 or the 750 does. they feel great. I mean, the only thing that I can really tell a bit of a difference between the 600 and the 750 riding them, like handling wise, not power, not what we're talking about, but it's in the tires. I can feel that the Power Sixes don't grip quite as much as the S22s, but they still grip really, really, really well. I'm just spoiled with Bridgestones, and but I mean, when I took when I had the gray bike, when I had Smokey, aka Shadow, out. It's been a hot minute ago, but had it out in some really nice BNC roads, and those Power Sixes did just fine. So, Deal's asking, what tire pressure do you use for the Power Six? For the Power Six and for the S22s, I have found the feel to be best at 34 front, 36 rear, and I don't cheat that up or down. I just try to get that number flat. 34 flat. If it goes a little bit over, 34.2, whatever, 34.3, I'm not really sweating that, but I try to keep it as close to 34 flat on the front and 36 rear as I can get. I know that a lot of guys like to go like 34, 34. Some guys like 34, 35. I prefer the 34, 36, even with the rear tire being bigger. On the 750, I keep in mind that bike showed up with a 190/55 tire on the rear. It's just how it worked out for the previous owner. What's funny is I didn't even notice that when I bought the bike. And what I found though is that having it up a little bit higher in the back helps it with turn in a little bit. But where it really helps it a lot? You get the bike, let's say we're on our favorite little S turn, right? When I drop the thing in, and when I am at maintenance throttle, and then I start as the bike is coming up and I'm rolling into the throttle nice and hard, with it being up just a little bit in the rear, it'll help hold the line better. Now, it's not that the 600 has an issue holding a line or that the blue bike had a problem holding a line, but it's just it's mentionably better with the little bit taller tire on the 750. But that's the kind of pressures that I like. And I use the same pressures for both the 750 and the 600 for the 180/55 on the back of the 600. It absolutely just rips with 36 out back. And again, it's more of a feel thing. And whether I'm hitting BNC roads really, really hard, or I'm just up cruising, that's where that pressure is going to be. And really, for most super sport tires, I think most guys like them in around that area. I've heard guys liking them a little bit lower. I haven't found a need to run them any lower than that, but they do feel nice at that pressure. But I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. One thing I am going to be doing with the 600, and I probably will end up going back to this at some point with the 750, is running stock air filters. The reason for that is when I first took possession of the 600 was filthy. And I mean, there was not like, you weren't going to take this thing to a car wash and just rinse it off. It wasn't going to work like that. And I spent a ton of time cleaning that bike up. And when I had the tank was up and I pulled the lid of the airbox off, it was absolutely pristine. Like it was like, serving dish clean. And took the filter out, the original filter, and it was just dirty as hell underneath there. There's not enough of a difference in terms of performance envelope going from a factory air filter to one of it doesn't matter whichever filter brand you like. You might see a number on a dyno. I don't even know that I give that any real credit. Especially with the middleweights and even the leader bikes, you just didn't really see that much of a difference. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say my GSX-R 1000 ran better with the factory air filter than it did with the aftermarket. But no, Felipe, to kind of expand upon your question about the suspension, I, to be honest with you, man, I can't really feel the difference one bike to the next in terms of suspension setup. I want to say the rear, we didn't get to the shock, the shock, the rear cushion, as they will call it, but the shock, I believe, is the same part number. I don't think that there's anything different there. I could be wrong, but I don't think that there is. Doesn't certainly look like there is. And I can tell you that, both bikes, I didn't ever mess outside of checking the suspension. I never did go in and like set it up. I measured sag up front after I put everything to factory specs the way that I set them up, which is a little bit different than what the owner's manual will read. Keep in mind that when I set up my preload, I will turn whatever screw I'm turning until it makes contact, you can feel it load. Then I start counting the turns, because I've had them as much as 2 or 3 turns out different. So I just will turn the screw until you feel that initial resistance. And then once I feel the initial resistance, that's when I would tighten it down for whatever number of turns. And that's how it worked out great, because the red bike was still stock. Nobody had ever messed with that setting at all. It didn't touch anything. And again, I mean, it's a Gixxer middleweight. You literally get on it. Doesn't matter how much you weigh, you ride it, and it's just really, really good. Let's see. Plot's asking, what do you think about installing aftermarket velocity stacks? Okay, it's going to depend on the bike. And this is specifically bike dependent here. GSXR 1000, probably wouldn't do it again. In fact, I wouldn't do it again on a GSXR 1000, even though I will say that as long as you're not like racing somebody with a really good setup on their bike, that I liked how the bike was smoother through the mid-range. It kind of took some of the edge out of that bike. But for the 750, I would not put different velocity stacks on that bike. It absolutely does not need them. As a matter of fact, unless, hold up, wait, a caveat here. I wouldn't put them on a 750 unless I was doing a full build on a 750. So let's say I've got cams, milled ahead, smaller head gasket, running it on like Sunoco 110. I've got a little bit of head work, because keep in mind, the 750s are really good, but they're still kind of built on a 600 platform, like what we were talking about earlier. So, head work and all the rest of the stuff that would come with it, then yeah, you might want to put velocity stacks on it, because you could take advantage of them then, right? But for the 750, the way that it sits now, you're not even trading power. It's only way at the very top of the RPM range where you might, and I mean might, because it's not a guarantee, every bike's different, you might pick up 2 points. That's it. Everywhere else, you're going to lose power, and that's not a good thing. Now, as far as the 600 goes, the 600, you could make an argument, already comes with velocity stacks installed, because they're only about that tall. So it comes with the short stacks on it already. And, so no reason to put them on the 600 either. The 600, after you put a tune and exhaust on them, is going to make peak power at between like 13.7 and 14.1, right there in that range. I think with the M4, it'll make peak power at like 14.0 or 14.1. So, Felipe's going, I'm talking about tire pressure. Well, I'm assuming you're talking about for the street. Now for the track, no, it's going to be different. For the track, it's 31 front and like 26 rear typically is what you'll see. Sometimes 28, a smaller bike, you could probably get away with 28. But usually around 20, 25, 26 out back, for track. X is in saying, what up, Professor B in chat? Oh, I got the flex. I like it. DM saying, I like billet velocity stacks. Yeah, that's the only way to fly, man. I will never go with that 3D printed, whatever the hell that was. That was not good. That was not good at all. So yeah, billet is the only way to go for velocity stacks, no doubt about it. Matter of fact, yeah, when it comes to velocity stacks, there are bikes that do well with them though. It's my understanding that the triples do well with them. It's also my understanding that the CBR 1000 does well with velocity stacks. So, again, it just kind of depends on, how that bike was originally put together, what kind of, power band you're going for, and, what other modifications are you going to do to that bike that are going to allow it to be able to utilize the velocity stacks the way that they should. Because, it's funny thing about velocity stacks, they will make the bike smoother through the mid-range. I mean, they just do. You take some of the bite out of that initial torque hit, and it really does kind of, it at least, especially with the GSXR 1000, it takes some of that obnoxious mid-range that it has. It's supposed to be great, but it can actually be a real annoyance at times. But again, I just don't think it adds enough power for that bike. And again, you've got some Triumphs that I know that it would work well for, the Honda. And again, if you are building a race specific combination, it's a good idea. Or if you've got I put them on the 636. If you've got a Euro 5 bike, that's basically, is it Euro 5? It probably will benefit from velocity stacks. That's just my guess, the way those things are put together. And so upcoming stuff. So let's get into that. There is a gnat flying around here. And if you see me like come out of nowhere, start shadow boxing at it, it's because this gnat has fallen in love with me and it keeps trying to do things to me and it's driving me crazy. So anyway, one of the videos I tried putting together, I'm going to try to get through this one. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on a ride along video because I've tried doing this twice and it's kind of ended up on the cutting room floor twice. Was a chat on the GSXR 750, what makes it the GOAT, right? Like just talking about that. That was one of them. And the reason why it's so hard to get through that video is because I get stupid caught up in like the history on the first part of the chat. So that one may or may not end up actually making it through to me actually publishing anything on that topic, at least as a ride along goes. Because it's kind of hard to convey and kind of hard to work through. It's almost better off as like a long form video where I'm just, background noise and, you're off doing something else and I'm yammering about how much I just love Gixxer 750s. And Gixxer 600s for that matter. Dilly's asking opinion on the 40th anniversary 750. Love it. Love any of the 750s. Michael's saying, hit the like. Yeah, spike the like. Hit that like button. The 750, colorways, I mean, I can't really speak to colorways. There's a lot going on the 40th anniversary bike, though. It's a good looking bike. And truth be told, I darn near bought a 40th anniversary 600. And so there's that. I mean, I like it enough to where I was actually considering bringing one of them home. But I don't know about the black colorway. Don't know about that. I'm curious to see what Suzuki is going to do for 2027 with their colorways. Suzuki's been real hit or real miss with their colorways of late. So definitely looking to see what that is going to look like. Dilly's saying, I don't like the black colorway. I don't like it either. I don't like the red inlet. It looks like it's wearing lipstick. I don't know how that got past how that got past anybody. And I also don't like the, they kind of screwed up in a way on the black colorway, in my opinion, because thank y'all for hitting the like button, by the way. Okay, so it's got the rainbow thing going for it, right? Not a big fan of that, but if you're going to do like an 80s inspired colorway with, the pastels or a rainbow type of motif, I'm kind of cool with that, but really lean into it. You know, it's black with the silver, but it doesn't have any real pop to it. It looks like it's wearing lipstick, and then it's got just the decals and that's it, are that rainbow thing. That stuff would come off the bike. In fact, it's funny too, because the bike that I was going to buy sold. It was a black bike, and I was gonna take the red thing off of the nose of the bike and just have it be red with black with red wheels and silver writing. But little sister showed up, so I could not tell you how happy I was when that bike popped in. I mean, the exact color that I was hoping for too. That is so weird. Like, that never happens. The other colorway though, the silver and blue, you know, look, that one is I'm leaning into that one too. I just don't like the colored inlets, you know, the bright, you know, blue or red on the inlets. I like those to be either flat black or gloss black. So, you know, that's what I would prefer if it were my dollars getting spent. And plus, what you want to talk about hard to find a part? What happens if, you know, because it happens, right? I mean, God forbid, but I mean, you get a rock that, you know, jacks up that inlet, right? I've had, you know, rocks, had some crazy stuff on a bike, right? But just my luck, it would be that I would catch just the right rock at just the right angle and, you know, blow a hole or, you know, chip the hell out of that thing, makes it unsightly. And I want to get a new one, but this is a new one, you know, 10 years down the line, you're never going to find one anyway. So if you love the look of it, you're still going to be screwed because you're not going to find the part. Better to just have one with a gloss black or a flat black. You can't tell the difference when they're on the bike. You're probably not going to be able to, you know, like, hey, it's black, cool. Just go that route. It'd been a whole lot better. Billy's liking that. Yeah. Yeah. I just was going, what in the hell? Why? But, yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. And then what else is kick? Oh, so, I've got to figure out over the next couple of days, I'm going to be looking to pick out, bikes for riding reviews. So, get ready for that. It's time to do some more of those. And I'm hoping to get something done with that sooner, much sooner than later. And I got to do something in the meantime because, you know, the 600 is going to be down until the exhaust shows up. And, but in the meantime for that's actually good. And the reason why, so yeah, I'm getting it cleaned up. But one of the reasons why I wanted to get on this project so quickly was because, you never know what's going to happen, right? Like if I found something that I was going to have to get fixed, right? Oh my gosh, I've got to fix, whatever that is. Then I wanted to have the opportunity to be able to order parts, or if there was something that I found that was going to need to be repaired or whatever, I could do that while I've got the time on my hands. I would have hated to have waited, take the bike apart only to start finding issues. And now I'm a bit behind the 8 ball. So far, everything looks good. It's just dirty, and I'm, you know, running through the thing with a vacuum and getting everything all cleaned up. Felipe's asking about a TL1000. Yes, back in the day. So this was when I had my RC51. I knew a guy with a TL1000, and I rode it, and it's a cool bike, man. Grunty, torquey bike. You know, it is from a bygone era. And unfortunately, that is it comes from a bloodline that was ended far too soon. Same with the RC51. But yeah, awesome bike. But yeah, DM saying, but you got to change out the rear shock. So they had a real bad habit of slinging riders because of issues with the rear shock. So, yeah, definitely. It was a known thing by Suzuki too. And the link, yes. What was it? Was the link failing? I forget what exactly it was, but I knew it had something to do with the rear shock on that bike. And it had something to do with the link and how the link was It was a different design, like it was an innovative design, but it was a design that didn't quite work out the way that they had hoped, and it had cost some people dearly. So, yeah, that's a sweet bike, but I don't know if I'd buy one used, but they're good to see in a museum. Now, an RC51, on the other hand, maybe we can chat. But yeah, that was a good bike. Okay, so that is about the same era like my dad's bike. Like it was 98, 99, 2000, 1, 2, 3. There was about a 5 or 7 year run. And this is when World Superbike, that's right. Yeah, it was a strange design. It was something that it was a weird, something weird was going on with that. And it was not good. But there was a time, so it was a beautiful time. So when World Superbike, and I want to say that the rules changed, and I'm even talking about this in one of the videos, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say the rules changed in 2000, where you could field, a manufacturer could field a 4-cylinder 1000cc motorcycle. Or I should say 990 cc's. I think there was a rule, a point in time where the rule was you could have any engine configuration that you wanted as long as it was 990 cc's. So twins, triples, fours, fives, it didn't matter. And I want to say that the higher the number of cylinders, you might have had a weight penalty or something. I don't know. I'm trying to remember something that I vaguely studied years and years ago. But anyway, it was an interesting time because this is when Kawasaki had the ZX7, Suzuki had the GSXR 750, Honda had the RC51. There was a bunch of neat bikes that were out at that time. But the TL1000 was part of that crew. So was the Aprilia RSV Mille, the 1000, which Mille meaning 1,000. Which is where the word mile comes from. And it's 1,000 strides, not 1,000 steps. What's a stride? Stride is 2 steps. That's why 5,280 feet, it's 5.28 feet per stride. Wow, I didn't know that was coming, did you? Anyway, for those of y'all sticking on long enough, there's your history lesson. That's a bunch of lessons into one. Anyway, you had the Aprilia Mille, which was, everybody loved it, apparently. A great bike. I've never ridden one, but, at that time, nerd! No kidding, right? But at that time, yeah, a lot of manufacturers were really leaning into, the V twins. There was a kind of a bit of a mystique that came with those bikes. And so a lot of guys loved them. And that's the thing that, just kind of strikes me with bikes of that era. They were just really, really different. And again, manufacturers didn't know what motorcycles were going to end up as. You got to remember, you're living through a bunch of firsts at that point in time. I mean, you've got the first R1 in 98, 99. The GSXR, the K5 Gixxer hit in 05. That was a major game changer. During that period of time, you had all of the 600s coming into play. And so, none of these types of bikes existed. These power levels didn't exist before for the street, especially. And so you had all of this new stuff, and manufacturers didn't really know what they were doing, or they knew what they were doing. They didn't know what the buying public was going to like. So it was kind of like if you threw it on the wall and it stuck, then cool. And every manufacturer is trying to be innovative and, do something different than everybody else. And yeah, DMs with the TL had an experimental, it's like a rotary rear dampener. And yeah, that's right. It was the same kind of design, wasn't it? It was the same kind of design as the rotary shocks from like old cars back in the day. Anyway, there's the idea behind it, if memory serves me correctly, was that it had a higher oil capacity which theoretically would keep it cooler and it would be more consistent. But apparently that thing failed badly, and when it failed, it was a catastrophic failure. Um, but yeah, back in those days, it was crazy. Um, it's one of those things where you had all these crazy different bikes from back then. Um, oh, Felipe saying, reason I bring this up, I'm about to jump on YouTube. I already have content, but nothing uploaded yet. Gotcha. Man, if you're riding one of the TLs, I would say be careful of that thing. I don't know. I think they switched it over to a standard dampener, but I think the damage was already done at that point. That bike's reputation was for ride. Um, um, oh, he's saying I'm preparing a V-twin comparison between my 888 Honda RC51, Aprilia RSV Miele, KTM RC8, TL1000R, Duck 916. The 888's a great bike. When I was living in Northern California, up in the mountains, it was GSXR 600, GSXR 750, 636, 675, 888, 748s, the occasional 999, and R6s. That's what you would have seen up in the mountains a lot of, like a whole lot of. So, yeah, I know that bike well. RC51, had one for a number of years, loved it. I'll let you know more about it soon. So far, only bike I'm missing is a TL1000. All others I have owners involved help out. Very cool. Yeah, the 888's really good. The funny thing about the 888 is they take really well to modification. Yeah, you can make some power with a 888. You know what's weird? That's a bike. Not that I know what I'm talking about here, but okay. So we've got the V2 Panigale, which in its latest form, I'm a little bit like, it's a big bike. Okay. I'm just not it's a leader. It's bigger than an R1. And, for me, when it comes to leader bikes, all of my roads seem to lead to R1. And so when I'm looking at this thing, I'm just going, it's a big bike. But if Ducati were to ever drop a new version of a 888, something that's about GSXR 750 sized and weighted, that would be a thing. Sovereign Night, where you been, buddy? Checking in right at the tail end of the show. I like it. Hope all is well with you, man. But yeah, Felipe, hopefully everything works out for you on making that comparison. I can tell you this, the RC51, all of those bikes from back then, got the bog out with the flex and the specs. Honda RC51, heavy front end feel, has really heavy front end feel. Aprilia, same thing. KTM RC8, never rode one. TL, don't have enough experience with it. And then the Ducati 916. Ducati 916 is just very, very light. Not a lot of power, but it's very, very light. And they do really pretty wheelies. But yeah, those are some pretty awesome bikes. I like the I like the RC51 quite a bit. One thing about the RC51, love it or hate it from a rider's perspective. And again, they are front end heavy. They do really good rolling burnouts and great stoppies. Ask me how I know. But that being said, they are bomb proof when it comes to reliability. Let's see. X is saying, I've got a 25 GSXR 600. I have the header done, but still need the tune. There's a small metallic ping-like noise, not knock at 46,000 RPM. Know anything coming from the leftish header bolts are tight? Small metallic ping-like noise, 46,000 RPM. I would check to make sure nothing is hitting anything. It sounds to me like it's getting hit with a resonance. Let me ask you this, which header is on the bike? Did you put a different header with what's the exhaust setup? like right behind the radiator. It's kind of what it sounds like on the left-hand side. Man, I just had mine all the way pulled apart, and I'm trying to think of what could be over there. The fan is on the right-hand side. MJ's Performance, M1 Tech Carbon coming in. I don't know, man. That's a tough one because I don't know. There's nothing, I don't know of anything in that general vicinity that would be doing anything unless, and that's a weird RPM to have that issue, but unless it's one of the gaskets, you know, because you've got the little, you know, O-ring gaskets in the exhaust. I mean, that's the only thing that I could think of. I have no idea. So it sounds like a resonance-like sound. Oh, it might be then. It's going to have to get dirty. Yeah, I have to get dirty. All right. Tell you what, I've been cleaning up Little Sister quite a bit. That bike, man, like I said, I think it just sat outside for a long time. But again, stock air filter, you know, kept everything clean. Oh, X about that gasket. Yeah. The funny thing is with the gaskets, you got to be careful with them because there's two things there. It's easy to figure out how they go in. The tab side, like if this is the gasket, the tab side goes on the back. It go tab towards the cylinder head. But if you slide a stock header in there, the M4 doesn't use those gaskets. The M4 uses the like a crush washer. And remember, your flat side always goes towards your mating surface. So anytime you have any kind of crush washer, like on your oil pan, perfect example of this, your flat side always goes towards the bike, and then the curved side, the crush side, is what you are crushing with your fastener. So don't forget that. If you do it the other way around, you run the risk of basically mating your washer to the fastener itself. But anyway, yeah, check that out. That might be what is going on. There could be an issue with that gasket somewhere over there. Plus, you know, remember all these things are slip fit. There might just be one of the pipes could be a little bit oblong somewhere over there. I don't know. But in that area though, there's not going to be a slip pipe. Man, I don't know. Oh, Sovereign, you can never reuse a crush washer. Well, you're not supposed to. Really what the crush washer is there to do, the crush washer is there to, it's there to create a seal. So as long as you have torqued down your fastener on your crush washer, normally it's going to be okay. The crush itself is there to, it's like a sacrificial thing, right? So it gives a little bit of resistance. It's like a spring, but a lot of guys reuse them. I don't. I always get new. So X is saying, yeah, I didn't remove the radiator, so it's possible I just strapped it forward a bit. MJ's Performance is like generic aftermarket header mid pipe, but I definitely will because that's what it could be. That it could very well be that. Yeah, and I didn't remove my radiator either. In fact, mine was just kind of dangling in air when I was getting the stock pipe out of there. DM is checking in, stepped away. Welcome back. But yeah, it's that's a possibility. Just check. You can fire the bike up when it's cold, fire it up and feel, like see if you can feel, or get a piece of paper, you know, and just run the paper around the exhaust. And sometimes you'll get a little bit of a puff when the bike is cold, and then everything swells up and it seals. But if you've got one, like after the bike warms up and you run a piece of paper over that area and it really is still moving around, then you might have a legit exhaust leak. Oh yeah, down here, we're sitting at like $450 for premium. It's expensive. Yeah, it's definitely gone up. That's for sure. In fact, I got to put gas in the truck tomorrow morning. Ugh. Spency. Wow, that's a lot less. It's a whole lot less, man. But with that, guys, I'm coming into an hour. I've got to check out. Let's see. Oh, X is saying it's tight as hell in there, and it's 100 out here. Yeah. I hear you, brother. Well, hey, listen, I've got to check out. Got to get back to work. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out with me tonight. Would not do this without you. Get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are they need it way more than you know. But with that, I hope to catch you guys on the next one. Until then, y'all take it easy.